You walk into a room and you already know something is off. You can't explain it yet. Nobody said anything. Nothing looks wrong. But something in the air has shifted, and you felt it before your brain caught up with the words. You notice the way someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes. You catch the pause before someone says they're fine. You see the tension between two people that everyone else seems to completely miss. And you've spent most of your life being told you're imagining things.
You're not imagining things. Today, we're going to talk about the psychology of people who see what others don't. Not in a mystical sense, not in a vague, feel-good way. In a deeply scientific, neurologically real way. Because what you've been experiencing your entire life has a name. Several of them. And understanding them is going to change how you see yourself completely. Let's start with the foundation. In 1996, psychologist Dr. Elaine Aron introduced a concept that would quietly transform the field of personality psychology. She called it sensory processing sensitivity. And she found that approximately 15 to 20% of the population is born with a nervous system that processes information more deeply than everyone else. Not more emotionally, not more dramatically, more deeply, more thoroughly, more completely.
These people, now commonly referred to as highly sensitive people, or HSPs, don't just perceive the world differently. Their brains are literally wired to pause and reflect longer before responding, to notice subtleties that others filter out, to process sensory, emotional, and social information at a level that most nervous systems simply don't reach. And here's the key word: filter. Most brains are extraordinarily good at filtering, at ignoring, at deciding what doesn't matter. The HSP brain lets almost everything through. Every flicker of light, every shift in someone's tone, every unspoken tension in a room, every layer beneath the surface of what's being said. And for most of their lives, that has felt like a curse. Because the world isn't built for people who feel everything. The world is built for people who can move fast, decide quickly, brush things off, and keep going. And when you're someone whose nervous system is picking up 17 signals at once, keeping up with that pace isn't just exhausting, it's genuinely overwhelming. So you get called sensitive, you get called dramatic, you get told you think too much. And slowly, over years, you start to wonder if the way you experience reality is a defect rather than a difference.
It isn't a defect. Let's talk about what it actually is. Neuroscientists studying HSPs have found through brain imaging research that these individuals show significantly higher activation in regions associated with awareness, empathy, and integration of information. Specifically, the insula, a region of the brain deeply connected to self-awareness and the sensing of others' emotional states, shows notably stronger activity in highly sensitive people. Their mirror neuron systems, the neural networks responsible for understanding and feeling what others feel, are more active and more responsive. This isn't metaphor. This is measurable biology.
What this means in practice is that a highly sensitive person doesn't just observe that someone is sad. They feel it. They don't just notice that something is wrong in a room. They absorb it. They don't just read between the lines. They live between the lines. And because this happens automatically, constantly, and without a switch to turn it off, the experience of being an HSP is one of perpetual depth. A world that others experience in 2 dimensions, that they experience in 5. But sensory processing sensitivity is only part of the picture, because there's another layer to this: pattern recognition. People who see what others don't are almost always exceptional pattern recognizers. They don't just feel the room, they read it. They track micro-expressions, the 25 millisecond flickers of emotion that cross a human face before the person even knows they're feeling something. They notice inconsistencies between what someone says and how their body is positioned.
They remember what someone said 6 months ago and quietly register that something has changed. They connect dots that other people don't even know are in the same picture. Research from cognitive psychology shows that this kind of deep pattern recognition is closely linked to what's called System 2 thinking, the slow, deliberate, deeply analytical mode of cognitive processing described by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. While most people rely heavily on fast, intuitive System 1 thinking, deep perceivers spend far more time in System 2. They question assumptions. They look for what's hidden. They sit with complexity longer before reaching conclusions. And that makes them extraordinarily accurate and extraordinarily exhausted. Because there's a cost to seeing everything, and it's a cost that doesn't get talked about enough. When your nervous system is processing at this level, the cognitive and emotional load is immense. You go to a family dinner, and you come home needing 2 days of recovery. Not because you're antisocial, but because you spent the entire evening tracking 11 different emotional undercurrents simultaneously, while also trying to participate in the actual conversation. You leave a work meeting and your brain is still running a background analysis of everything that was said, everything that wasn't said, and what it might mean for the next 4 weeks. You watch a movie and you feel the character's pain as if it's your own. You read the news and it physically affects your body. This is not weakness. This is a nervous system doing its job at maximum capacity, all the time, without rest. And here's what makes it even more complicated. People who see what others don't often don't trust what they see because they've been told so many times that they're wrong, that they're projecting, that they're making things up, that they're being paranoid. And so they develop a kind of internal war between the signal their nervous system is sending them loud and clear and the voice in their head that says, maybe I'm imagining it, maybe I'm too much, maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there. But the research is unambiguous. Studies consistently show that HSPs and high perception individuals demonstrate superior accuracy in reading emotional states, detecting deception, and identifying relational dynamics in group settings. They are not imagining things. They are seeing things that most people are neurologically not equipped to see. The problem was never the perception. The problem was the world's response to it. So what do you do with this? How do you live well in a nervous system that never stops receiving? First, you stop treating your sensitivity as a problem to be fixed, because it isn't one. Research by Dr. Aron and subsequent researchers has shown that high sensitivity is what's called a differential susceptibility trait. This means that while highly sensitive people suffer more in negative, unsupportive environments, they also flourish more dramatically in positive, nurturing ones. You are not fragile. You are responsive. There is a profound difference. Second, you learn to distinguish between absorbing and observing. The skill that HSPs need most is not to feel less. It's to notice what they're feeling, name it, and decide consciously what to do with it. Rather than being swept away by every signal, they can learn to use those signals as information, as wisdom, as guidance, without being consumed by them. Third, you recognize that your perception is a gift that comes with a responsibility. To yourself first. The people in your life who see what others don't often spend all of their perceptive energy on other people, noticing everyone else's pain, tracking everyone else's needs, holding space for everyone else's complexity, while completely neglecting their own inner world. The gift turned outward at the expense of the self is not a gift, it's a drain. Turn some of it inward. You deserve the same quality of attention you give everyone else. And finally, you find your people. Not the people who tell you you're too much, not the people who make you feel like your depth is an inconvenience. The people who lean in when you say something real. The people who don't need you to be simpler than you are. Those people exist. And for someone who sees everything, finding even one of them changes everything. You were never broken. You were never too much. You were never imagining things. You were just built to see what most people miss. And the world, whether it admits it or not, needs people like you in it. Hit subscribe if this finally gave language to something you've always known about yourself. And if you want to understand why the people who feel the most are often the ones who learned earliest to hide it, that video is next. Click it. You already know it's going to hit.